A woman on the verge of giving up on life, a desperate prayer on the icy Denver sidewalk, and a stranger who stopped at exactly the right moment. But what seemed like a simple act of kindness was, in fact, the beginning of something that would change two lives forever. When Emma finally understood who had truly orchestrated that impossible encounter, she fell to her knees and cried like never before. This is a story about divine providence, unexpected love, and how God uses ordinary people to perform extraordinary miracles. Prepare yourself, because the ending will give you goosebumps. It was a Tuesday in December, one of those that cuts at your skin. The icy Denver wind whipped through the empty streets, and the gray sky seemed to weigh down on the entire city. Emma Parker, 34, leaned against a brick wall on Colfax Avenue, trembling. Not just from the cold, from fear, from exhaustion, from defeat. She held a crumpled eviction notice in the pocket of her worn coat. She had until midnight to leave the apartment where she had lived for 6 years. The place wasn't much, but it was hers. It was where she woke up, where she kept the photos of her mother, whom she had lost 2 years ago, where she dreamed that things would get better. Now, all of that was going to become the past. 3 hours earlier, Emma had been fired, without warning, without any explanation that made sense. The manager of the cafe where she worked simply said they were restructuring, and that she no longer fit the profile. 6 years serving coffee, cleaning tables, smiling at grumpy customers, and now, out of nowhere, she wasn't serving anymore. Emma brought her hands to her face. Her vision was blurry again. It wasn't just the tears. For weeks she had been seeing everything blurry, with dark spots invading the corners of her eyes. She knew it was serious. She had researched it online, seen the symptoms, understood that she needed an ophthalmologist urgently. But how? With what money? She hadn't even been able to pay for her last appointment at the health center. She waited in line for 5 hours, and when it was finally her turn, they said the doctor had left. Come back tomorrow. She went back 3 times. She never managed to get seen. Now she was there in the street, feeling the whole city pass by her as if she were invisible. People walked quickly, heads down, protecting themselves from the cold. Nobody looked at her. Nobody saw her. Emma took a deep breath, but the air entered sharply, burning her lungs. She closed her eyes and, for the first time in years, spoke to God. Not a memorized prayer, not a beautiful invocation, just a stifled cry from her heart. God, if you can still see me, please, help me. I can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do anymore. Her voice came out trembling, almost inaudible, but laden with a pain so deep it felt like it was tearing her chest apart. Hot tears streamed down her cold face, and she let herself slide a little further down the wall, as if giving up. And it was at that exact moment that someone stopped. Emma couldn't see clearly at first. Her vision was too blurry, but she heard footsteps approaching, slow, deliberate. And then, a calm, concerned male voice. Miss, are you okay? She wiped her eyes with her coat sleeve and managed to make out the silhouette of a man. He was crouching in front of her, holding 2 grocery bags. He must have been about 36 or 37 years old. Unshaven, with slightly messy brown hair, a simple flannel jacket. Nothing about him screamed hero. He just seemed like a normal guy, tired, but with kind eyes. Sorry to bother you, he said, his voice soft. But you seem to need help. Did something happen? Emma didn't know whether to laugh or cry even more. Something was an understatement. Everything had happened. Everything had fallen apart. But she didn't have the strength to lie, to pretend that everything was all right. I lost my job today, she murmured, her voice faltering. I'm going to be evicted tonight. I have nowhere to go. I have no one. And I'm going blind, you know. My eyesight is getting worse. And I don't have money for a doctor. I don't have money for anything. The words cascaded out, mixed with sobs. Emma didn't even realize she was saying all that to a complete stranger. But deep down, she didn't care anymore. Maybe it was the end. Maybe it wouldn't make any difference anymore. The man remained silent for a few seconds. Not that uncomfortable silence of someone who doesn't know what to say. It was more as if he were truly listening, processing, feeling. Then he put the bags down, took off his jacket, and placed it over Emma's shoulders. She looked at him, confused. "You're freezing," he said simply. "Stay with her." "But I can't." "He is." He sat down beside her on the sidewalk, unhurried, seemingly unbothered by the cold or the awkward situation. He stood there quietly for a moment, then sighed deeply. "You know, I don't usually stop like this in the middle of the street. I'm usually always in a hurry, always with 1,000 things on my mind. But today, I can't explain it. When I saw you there, something inside me said, 'Stop, now.'" It was so clear that I didn't even think twice. Emma turned to him, still wiping away her tears. "Why? You don't even know me." He gave a small, somewhat sad smile. "No, but I think God knows. And I think He put me here, right now, in this place, for a reason." She felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. What he had said was exactly what she had just prayed. "Help me." And there he was, a stranger, stopping, listening, without judging. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma." "Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm Daniel. Daniel Carter." He extended his hand, and she shook it, still somewhat in disbelief that this was happening. "Look, Emma, I'm not going to pretend I know what you're going through, but I know what it's like to hit rock bottom. I've been there, and someone helped me when I needed it most. So if you'll let me, I want to try to do the same for you." Emma shook her head, tears welling up again. "I can't accept this. You don't owe me anything. I know I shouldn't, but I want to. And if God brought me this far, I'm not going to ignore it." He picked up the grocery bags and started taking things out. Bread, cheese, fruit, water. He put everything in a smaller bag and handed it to Emma. "First, you need to eat. When was the last time you ate anything?" Emma remained silent. She didn't remember. Maybe yesterday morning, maybe before. "That's what I imagined," Daniel said, with a kindness that seemed genuine. "Come, take your time. You don't need to say anything now." She picked up the bread with trembling hands and took a small bite. The flavor exploded in her mouth, and she realized how hungry she was. She ate slowly, in silence, while Daniel stood there beside her, simply present. After a few minutes, he spoke again. "Emma, about your vision, you said it's getting worse. How long has this been going on? About 3 weeks? Maybe 4. I'm not sure. And did you go to the doctor?" She gave a bitter laugh. "I tried, several times, but you know how it is. No money, no insurance. You always get pushed back in line." Daniel nodded thoughtfully. Then he took his cell phone out of his pocket. "I know someone. A friend of mine, Dr. Harris. He's an ophthalmologist. Let me call him." "Daniel, no. You don't need to." "Emma." He looked into her eyes with a calm firmness. "Stop thinking you don't deserve help. You do, and I'll make sure you get it." He dialed. He spoke quickly, explained the situation, listened, and nodded. When he hung up, he had a smile on his face. "Tomorrow, 8 in the morning. He'll see you. No charge. I've already arranged it with him." Emma was speechless. Her jaw trembled, and she began to cry again. But this time it wasn't just sadness. It was relief. It was shock. It was gratitude mixed with the fear of waking up and discovering that it had all been just a dream. "Why are you doing this?" Emma asked, her voice breaking. "Why do you care?" Daniel stood still for a moment, gazing at the gray sky. Then he took a deep breath and spoke slowly, as if carrying a heavy burden. 5 years ago, I was in a place similar to yours. Not exactly the same, but lost, you know? I had just gotten out of an addiction that almost killed me. Alcohol. I drank to forget, but it only made everything worse. I lost my marriage, my job. I almost lost my son. I lived in my car for 3 months. Emma looked at him, surprised. She couldn't have imagined it. Daniel seemed so composed, so in control. Then, one day, I was sitting in a church parking lot, too afraid to go in. I thought God didn't want anything to do with me anymore, that I had ruined everything too much to be fixed. But a man came out of the church, came up to me, knocked on my car window and said, "God doesn't give up on you, and neither will I." He took me inside, introduced me to a support group, helped me find a job, and gave me hope when I had nothing left. Daniel looked at Emma, and there were tears in his eyes too. That man saved my life. So, Emma, I'm not doing anything special. I'm just passing on what I received. Because that's how God works. He uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Emma couldn't speak. She just cried, but now with a different kind of cry. A cry that liberates. Daniel stood up and extended his hand to her. "Come, you won't spend the night on the street. I know a shelter run by my church. They have safe rooms, hot food, and people who will treat you with dignity. Let me take you there." She hesitated, not because she doubted him, but because it was hard to believe it was real, that anyone actually cared. "Emma," he said in that calm voice, "trust me, just for today. Tomorrow we'll see the doctor, and then we'll figure out the rest. But today, you'll have a safe place to sleep." Agreed. She nodded, still trembling, and took his hand to help herself to her feet. Her legs were weak, but something inside her had changed. It wasn't hope yet. It was less than that. It was just possibility. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't as alone as she thought. Daniel picked up the bags and began to walk slowly, always looking back to see if Emma was following. They walked for 3 blocks until they reached a red brick building with a discreet cross at the entrance. "Bethel Refuge House," the sign read. When they entered, the warmth enveloped Emma like a hug. There was a smell of soup in the air, and the faint sound of conversations came from a back room. A woman in her 50s, with gray hair tied in a bun, appeared from the hallway and smiled when she saw Daniel. "Daniel, what a surprise," she said, opening her arms wide. "Hi, Carol. I brought someone who needs help." Carol looked at Emma with the kind of gaze that sees beyond appearances, beyond tiredness, beyond the dirt of the street. A gaze that sees the person. "Welcome, dear. What's your name?" "Emma." "Emma. What a beautiful name. Come with me. I'll show you your room, and then you can have dinner with us. No rush, no pressure. Just relax." Emma looked at Daniel, her eyes welling up with tears again. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me." He smiled, in that gentle way. "God saw you first, Emma. I only obeyed." And with that, he turned and went out into the cold night, leaving Emma there, in the warmth of that place that seemed to have been prepared just for her. That night, Emma slept for the first time in weeks without waking up in the middle of a nightmare. The room was simple, but it had a clean bed, a warm blanket, and a sense of security she hadn't felt in so long. Before turning off the light, she looked at the ceiling and murmured softly, "Thank you, God. Thank you for not abandoning me." The next day, at 8 in the morning, Daniel was waiting in front of Bethel House with a hot coffee in his hand. When Emma came out, still a little groggy but with a less weary face, he handed her the coffee. "Good morning, Emma. Did you sleep well?" "Better than I expected," she admitted, picking up the coffee and feeling the warmth in her palms. "Great, let's go. Dr. Harris is waiting." Dr. Harris's office was a 15-minute drive away. It was a modern, clean place, with those comfortable armchairs in the waiting room and a smell of antiseptic that would normally make Emma nervous, but today she felt only gratitude. When the doctor called his name, Daniel stood up as well. "May I go in with her?" he asked. "Of course," Dr. Harris said with a calm smile. Inside the room, Dr. Harris carefully examined Emma's eyes, asking questions, adjusting equipment, observing in silence. After 20 minutes, he stepped away and sighed. "Emma, you have advanced retinal detachment. If we don't treat this in the next few weeks, you will lose vision in your left eye. And it's starting to affect your right eye too." Emma's heart sank. She already knew it was serious, but hearing it out loud was like being punched in the stomach. "And how much does the treatment cost?" she asked, her voice almost inaudible. Dr. Harris exchanged a glance with Daniel. Then he turned to Emma and said firmly, "For you, nothing. I'll operate, and I'll make sure you regain your sight. Free of charge." Emma blinked, confused. "What do you mean? No cost. I can't accept that." "Emma," Daniel interrupted, placing his hand on her shoulder. "You can yes and you will. Because this isn't about money. It's about taking care of each other. Dr. Harris is my brother in faith, and he knows that when we have the chance to help, we don't think twice." She looked at the two men, and something inside her broke completely. Not from sadness, from relief, from a gratitude so profound it couldn't be put into words. She simply lowered her head and let the tears fall. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." The surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks later, and in the meantime, something unexpected happened. Daniel kept showing up. He took Emma out to lunch, talked to her about life, about faith, about God's plans. He introduced her to his church, where Emma was received with warm hugs and words of encouragement. People she had never met before offered to help her find a job, to donate clothes, to pray with her, and for the first time in years, Emma didn't feel alone. But what impressed her most was Daniel. He wasn't perfect. He had his flaws, his bad days, his scars, but there was a peace in him that Emma wanted to understand, a faith that wasn't religious in a suffocating way, but alive, real. One afternoon, they were sitting on a park bench, having coffee, when Emma finally asked, "Daniel, how can you have so much faith, even after everything you've been through?" He stood quiet for a while, watching the children playing in the playground ahead. Then he spoke slowly. "Because I saw God act, Emma. I saw it when I didn't deserve it. When I was at rock bottom, drinking my life away, hating myself, God didn't abandon me. He sent people, He opened doors, He gave me a second chance. And since then, I decided I was going to live to pass that on. Not because I'm special, but because He is." Emma felt a lump in her throat. "Do you think God has a plan for me too?" Daniel looked into her eyes with that calm intensity. "I don't think so, Emma. I'm sure of it. You're here, alive, breathing, fighting. That's already proof that He's not finished with you yet." She smiled, for the first time in a long time. A small smile, but a genuine one. And it was at that moment, on that park bench, with the setting sun painting the sky orange, that Emma realized something that both frightened and warmed her. She was falling in love with Daniel. Not only with his kindness, but with who he was, with his faith, his strength, the way he made her feel seen, valued, loved, but she kept that feeling to herself. After all, why would someone like Daniel be interested in someone like her? He had been kind because it was the right thing to do, nothing more, or so she thought. The surgery took place on a sunny January morning. Emma was nervous, but Daniel was there in the waiting room. Waiting. He had taken time off work just to be with her, and when she woke up from the anesthesia, her eyes still bandaged, the first voice she heard was his. "Hey, champion, welcome back." She smiled beneath her blindfold. "Daniel, I'm here. I'll always be here." Those words echoed in her mind for days afterward. "I'll always be there." Did he know the weight that carried? Did he feel something too? Or was it just kindness? 10 days later, the time came to remove the bandages. Emma sat in Dr. Harris's office, her heart pounding erratically. Daniel stood beside her, holding her hand without even realizing it. "Ready?" Dr. Harris asked. Emma nodded. He began to remove the bandages, slowly, layer by layer. And then, light. Blurred at first, but then sharp, clear, vibrant colors, defined shapes. Emma blinked several times, adjusting her vision, and then looked around, first at the doctor, who smiled contentedly, then at Daniel, and when she saw his face for the first time truly clear, without that haze, without that darkness, she began to cry. Because he was even more handsome than she had imagined. But it wasn't that. It was his gaze. That gaze full of care, of genuine joy for her. "Emma?" he asked, worried. "Is everything all right?" She nodded, laughing and crying at the same time. "Okay, yes, I can see you, really." For the first time, he smiled, and there were tears in his eyes too. "So, did you disappoint me?" She shook her head, still smiling. "Not at all." In the following months, Emma began to rebuild her life. The church helped her find a job at a new coffee shop that had opened downtown. It wasn't much, but it was decent. She managed to rent a small room, but it was hers. Clean, safe, hers. And Daniel kept showing up, but now it wasn't just kindness anymore. There was something different. He started inviting her to dinner, to walk in the park, to watch silly movies at his house. And they would talk for hours. About everything, about nothing, about dreams, fears, scars. One evening, after a simple dinner at Daniel's house, they were sitting on the sofa, simply enjoying the comfortable silence. And then, out of the blue, Daniel spoke. "Emma, can I ask you something?" "Of course." He turned to her, nervous in a way Emma had never seen him before. You feel something for me? Because I've been trying to just be friends, you know? Because I didn't want to pressure you. I didn't want to take advantage of a situation where you were vulnerable. But I can't pretend I don't feel anything anymore. Because I do. I feel a lot, and I need to know if it's just in my head, or if you feel the same. Emma was speechless. Her heart raced. She looked at him, into his sincere, vulnerable eyes, and felt all the barriers she had built around her heart crumble at once. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I fell in love with you that day on the sidewalk. When you stopped, when you saw me, when you treated me like I was worth something. I didn't think you could feel the same." He let out a nervous, almost incredulous laugh. "Emma, are you kidding me? From the day I saw you, something inside me changed. I look at you, and I see strength, I see faith, I see someone who's been through hell and can still smile. You're incredible, and I can't imagine my life without you." She felt the tears welling up again, but this time they were tears of pure happiness. Daniel approached slowly, giving her time to back away if she wanted, but she didn't. She leaned in too, and when their lips met, it was soft, delicate, full of promise. It was a kiss that said, "You're not alone. Never again." 6 months later, Daniel proposed to Emma on a simple night, without fireworks, without an audience, just the two of them, on the same park bench where she had confessed that she was beginning to believe again. He knelt down, took a small box from his pocket, and said, "Emma Parker, you changed my life. You made me believe that God still uses ordinary people to perform miracles. And I want to spend the rest of my life being the man you deserve. Will you marry me?" She couldn't even speak. She just nodded, laughing and crying, as he placed the ring on her finger. The wedding was small, in the church that had welcomed Emma. Carol, the woman from Bethel House, was the maid of honor. Dr. Harris was the best man. And when the pastor asked if Daniel accepted Emma as his wife, he looked at her with that smile she had learned to love and said firmly, "I accept, forever." And Emma, looking at him through tears of joy, whispered back, "Forever." Today, 3 years later, Emma and Daniel have a beautiful family. They have a 2-year-old daughter named Grace. Grace, because that's exactly what God poured out on them. Emma volunteers at the same Bethel house that took her in, helping other women who are where she once was. And Daniel? He continues to stop in the street when he sees someone in need of help, because he knows that's how God works, through ordinary people in unlikely moments. Whenever Emma tells this story, and she tells it whenever she can, she always ends by saying the same thing. "I was at rock bottom. I thought God had forgotten me, but he never forgot me. He was just preparing the answer, and when I least expected it, he sent a simple man with grocery bags to remind me that I was still seen, that I was still loved, that my story wasn't over." So, if you're going through a difficult time right now, don't give up, Because sometimes, the answer comes in the form of a stranger who stops in the middle of the street. Sometimes, God writes beautiful stories starting with a desperate prayer on a cold sidewalk. And sometimes, the miracle isn't just healing, a job, a house. The miracle is finding someone who shows you that you were never alone. She looks at Daniel, who smiles back, holding Grace in his lap. And in that moment, Emma knows with every fiber of her being that the prayer whispered on a cold December afternoon was not ignored. It was heard. It was answered. It was transformed into something greater than she could have imagined. Because God doesn't work by coincidence. He works by purpose. And sometimes, all he needs is someone willing to stop, someone willing to listen, someone willing to obey that whisper in their heart that says, "Stop. Now, she needs you." And Daniel stopped. And Emma was saved. And a family was born. And all this because, on a cold afternoon in Denver, two lives crossed paths at exactly the right moment, not by chance, but by divine providence. Because when God decides to write a story, he leaves nothing to chance. Every detail, every moment, every tear, everything is part of a greater plan. And even when we can't see it, he's there, working, orchestrating, preparing the miracle. Emma learned this in the most beautiful way possible. And now, she spends the rest of her life reminding people, don't give up. Because your story, too, might be just a prayer, a meeting, a kind stranger away from the turnaround you so desperately need. God is writing, and he always finishes his stories well. Always. Emma and Daniel's story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, God never abandons us. He works through ordinary people who choose to obey that impulse in their hearts to stop and help. Every desperate prayer is heard, every tear is seen, and sometimes, the miracle we ask for comes disguised as a stranger with grocery bags and a heart willing to serve. If this story touched you in any way, leave a like, comment on what you felt, and subscribe to continue hearing stories like this one that will remind you that you are never alone. Because God always has a plan. Always.